Captain Ho stood on the bridge of the eternal horizon, staring at the screen before him. The message had arrived 3 hours ago, and he had read it at least 20 times since then. Each time, the words felt heavier in his mind. The distress signal came from the Galactic Council, the group that ruled over 17 different alien civilizations. For the past 3 years, something terrible had been hunting them. They called it the Void Swarm. It was a creature made of silicon and darkness, something that lived in the empty spaces between stars. It ate entire worlds. It consumed everything in its path. Ho had seen the reports. The insect-like Hask people were gone. The beautiful crystalline had fallen silent. The floating gas beings called had vanished from their cloud cities. One by one, every great civilization in the galaxy was dying. Now the Council's last fortress world, a planet called Prime, was under attack. The message was not really asking for help. It was a final scream, a last goodbye sent to anyone who might hear it. They had weeks left, maybe less. Ho called his second-in-command, Lieutenant Ah, to the bridge. She arrived quickly, her face serious. She had read the message too. "They're really desperate," Ah said quietly. "I never thought I'd see the day." Ho nodded. The Galactic Council had never liked humans. When Earth finally learned how to travel faster than light 80 years ago, the aliens had not welcomed them with open arms. Instead, they kept humans far away from the center of their civilization. They called humans the young predators and the violent children. They made rules to stop Earth from expanding too far into space. Humans were good enough to trade with, but not good enough to trust, not civilized enough, too dangerous, too wild. "They wouldn't help us when we asked to join the Council 10 years ago," Ah said. Her voice was calm, but Ho could hear the old anger there. "They said we weren't ready. They said we were too aggressive." "I remember," Ho replied. He had been at that meeting. He had watched the Council vote to reject Earth's application. They had done it with barely a discussion. The screen beeped. Another message was coming through. This one was different. It was marked as urgent and personal, addressed directly to Earth's government. Ho opened it. A hologram appeared above the communications panel. It showed an alien woman, tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered like pearls. She wore robes of silver and gold. This was Matriarch, the leader of the Galactic Council. Her voice was tired, defeated. "People of Earth," she began, "I am of the Council. I speak to you now not as a leader but as someone who is watching her people die. The Void Swarm has taken everything from us. Our fleets are destroyed. Our weapons do not work. Our greatest minds have no answers." She paused. For a moment she looked away from the camera as if ashamed. "We have begged the stars for salvation. We have prayed to every god our people know. We have searched for mercy in the darkness of space." Her eyes returned to the camera, and Ho saw something there he never expected to see from a council member. Fear. Real, terrible fear. "We once called you violent, we called you dangerous. We said you were not civilized enough to stand beside us." His voice cracked slightly. "We were wrong. We were so terribly wrong. Now we ask you, will you answer our call? Will you help us, even though we turned you away?" The message ended. The bridge was silent. I looked at Ho. "What do we do?" Ho thought about it. Part of him wanted to say no. They rejected us, he thought. They treated us like we were nothing. Why should we risk our lives for them? But another part of him, a deeper part, knew what he had to do. Humans had always been this way. Even when someone had wronged them, even when it would be easier to walk away, humans helped. It was just who they were. "Send the message back to Earth Command," Ho said. "Tell them the Council is asking for help. Tell them we recommend saying yes." An nodded and moved to the communication station. Ho watched her work, then turned back to look at the stars outside the window. Somewhere out there, entire civilizations were dying. Somewhere out there, the Void Swarm was consuming worlds. He thought about Earth. Beautiful, violent, dangerous Earth. The planet that had given birth to humans but also to lions and tigers and bears. The planet where everything fought to survive, where nature was red in tooth and claw. The Council had called humans violent. They had called humans predators. They were right, Ho thought, but they never understood what that really meant. They never understood that being a predator was not just about violence. It was about survival. It was about protecting your pack. And now the galaxy needed predators. Ah finished sending the message. It's done, she said. Earth Command will have it in 6 hours. Good, Ho said. Now we wait. He did not have to wait long. Earth's response came in 4 hours, faster than he expected. The message was short and simple, but it made Ho smile. To Matriarch and the Galactic Council, we received your call for help. We accept. Prepare for extraction operations. Earth is coming. We are bringing everything we have. There was one more line at the end, and this one made Ah laugh out loud when she read it. P.S. We hope you like dogs. Ho set course for Prime. Behind the eternal horizon, 12 massive transport ships began to move. They were not warships. They were not filled with soldiers or weapons. They were filled with something much more dangerous. As the fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, Ho thought about what was coming. The Council had begged the stars for mercy. They had asked for salvation from above. Earth had no mercy to give, but they had something else, something that had survived ice ages and extinction events, something that had evolved over millions of years to hunt, to kill, to survive. The galaxy was about to meet Earth's true children, not just the humans, but the beasts that walked beside them. And nothing in the universe was ready for that. Commander Ah stood in the Great Hall of the United Earth Assembly, waiting for the debate to begin. In front of her sat representatives from every nation on Earth. Behind her, on a massive screen, played footage of the Void Swarm destroying an alien city. The images were horrible. Buildings melted like wax. Ships fell from the sky. Millions of beings died in moments. The room was not quiet. Everyone was talking at once. Some were angry. Some were scared. Most were confused about why Earth should help aliens who had rejected them for so long. They called us barbarians, shouted Ambassador Park from Korea. They said we were too violent to join their precious council. Now they want us to save them. They treated us like children, added representative from the Pacific Union. They made rules to keep us away from their space. They wouldn't trade fairly with us. They laughed at our culture. Ah listened to them argue. She understood their anger. She felt it too. 10 years ago, she had been part of the diplomatic mission to the Council. She had watched them vote to reject Earth without even really considering it. She remembered how small it made her feel. But someone had to speak up. Someone had to remind them what was at stake. May I speak? Ah asked loudly. The room slowly went quiet. All eyes turned to her. I was there when they rejected us, she began. I saw how they looked at us like we were insects, like we were dirty. I felt the same anger you all feel now. She paused, looking at each face in the room. But I also just watched 17 civilizations die. I watched billions of beings get consumed by something that does not care about politics or pride. Why should we care? Someone shouted from the back. Before Ah could answer, another voice spoke up. It was Wu Jin, a civilian liaison officer who worked with the Defense Coalition. He was young, barely 30 years old, but he had a reputation for seeing things clearly. We should care because it's the right thing to do, Wu Jin said simply. He walked to the front of the room to stand beside Ah. But that's not why we're really going to help them. The room went very quiet now. Everyone leaned forward to hear. We're going to help them because this is our chance, Wu Jin continued. For 80 years the Council has kept us small. They were afraid of us. They didn't ask for our diplomacy. They didn't ask for our culture or our ideas. But now they're asking for the one thing we're actually the best at. What's that? Someone asked. Wu Jin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Fighting, Surviving, hunting. They called us predators like it was an insult. Let's show them they were right. The vote was called. It was not unanimous, but it was close enough. Earth would answer the call. 3 days later, Admiral Yang stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Mountain. Around him, 12 massive transport ships moved through space in perfect formation. They were heading toward Prime at maximum speed. Yang was old for a military officer, nearly 60 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought in the resource wars on Earth 30 years ago. He had seen what humans could do when they were desperate. Now he was going to show the galaxy. Next to him stood Dr. Bai, the head of Earth's Extreme Environment Warfare Division. She was shorter than Yang, with sharp eyes and quick hands that were always moving, always checking data on her tablet. "Are they ready?" Yang asked her. "As ready as they'll ever be," Bai replied. "The cold sleep systems are working perfectly. All specimens are healthy. The handlers are prepared." "Specimens," Yang repeated with a small laugh. "That's a polite way to say it." Bai smiled. "Would you prefer I call them what they are? Weapons, monsters, the things that used to eat our ancestors." "I'd prefer you call them what they've always been," Yang said seriously. "Our partners, our companions, our family." The fleet arrived at Prime exactly on schedule. The planet was beautiful from space, covered in blue oceans and green continents. But even from orbit, you could see the damage. Dark patches covered the southern hemisphere where the Void Swarm had already landed. Smoke rose from burning cities. A communication came through from the planet's surface. It was Matriarch herself. "Earth Fleet, this is Prime Control. We thank you for coming." Her voice was shaking. "We have prepared landing zones for your troops. Our remaining forces will support your soldiers however we can." Yang exchanged a glance with Bai before responding. "Matriarch, we need to be very clear about something. We did not bring troops, not the way you understand them." There was a long pause. "I don't understand. What did you bring?" "We brought specialists," Yang said carefully. "We need you to evacuate all civilians from the combat zones. Pull your remaining military back to defensive positions around your cities. What we're about to deploy. Your people should not see it up close." "What are you deploying?" His voice was confused now, maybe a little afraid. Yang nodded to his communications officer. "Transmit the cargo manifest to Prime Control." Another long pause. Then's voice came back, and now it was definitely afraid. "These are animals. You brought animals to fight the Void Swarm." "Not just animals," Bai cut in. Her voice was proud. "These are Earth's apex predators. Bears, tigers, crocodiles, wolves, eagles, Komodo dragons. We've enhanced them for vacuum combat. We've trained them for war. And every single one has a human handler who has bonded with them since birth." "This is insane," shouted. "You expect wild beasts to fight an enemy that destroyed our fleets." Ho, who had been listening from the eternal horizon, spoke up now. "Matriarch, your fleets were designed to fight other civilized species. You built ships to fight ships. You created weapons to counter weapons. You think like civilized beings. And you don't." His voice was sharp with anger and fear. "No," Ho said simply. "We think like predators. The Void Swarm is a hive mind, yes. It's organic, biological, alive. It thinks it's at the top of the food chain because nothing in space has ever hunted it before." He paused for effect. "It's never met Earth before. It's never faced something that evolved to kill for 4 billion years. Your civilizations grew up on peaceful worlds. You learned technology before you learned to hunt. But Earth taught us to survive before it taught us anything else." The line was quiet for a long time. Finally spoke again, her voice small. "If you fail, we all die." "We won't fail," Yang said with absolute confidence. "Because we're not fighting for territory or resources or political power. We're fighting because you asked for help, and humans never abandon their pack, even if you were never really part of it." The first transport ship began its descent toward the planet. Inside its hold, in cold sleep chambers, 2,000 of Earth's most dangerous predators waited to wake up. On the bridge, Bai watched the monitors and smiled. Let's show them what nature really looks like. The first wave of drop pods fell through Prime's atmosphere like burning meteors. Inside each pod sat a human handler and their bonded partner. Tactical Officer Sang-min watched from orbit as 200 pods scattered across the southern continent, landing in a perfect grid pattern around the Void Swarm's invasion zone. Sang-min had been planning this assault for 3 days straight, barely sleeping, barely eating. He had studied every piece of data they had about the swarm. He knew how it moved, how it attacked, how it consumed. The swarm was efficient, brutal, and completely unstoppable against conventional weapons. But Sang-min was betting everything on one simple fact. The swarm had never faced anything like this before. All pods landed successfully, reported his assistant. Handlers are waking their partners now. Sang-min zoomed in on one pod's camera feed. Inside, he could see Handler removing the cold sleep collar from her partner, a massive Siberian tiger she had named Ghost. The tiger was huge, nearly 400 kilograms of pure muscle and fury. Its white fur had been genetically enhanced to survive in vacuum for short periods. Its claws could cut through steel. But the most important enhancement was invisible. Ghost and Ha were connected through a neural link, a piece of technology that let them share thoughts and feelings. They were not just a human and an animal. They were a team. Ha checked Ghost's breathing, his heartbeat, his eyes. Everything was perfect. She strapped on her combat suit and grabbed her rifle. She would not need the rifle much, but it made her feel better to have it. "Ready, boy?" she whispered to Ghost. The tiger's ears flicked forward. Through their neural link she felt his excitement, his eagerness to run and hunt. She smiled. "Yeah, me too." The pod door opened with a hiss. Outside was a nightmare landscape. The Void Swarm had already consumed half the forest here, turning trees and plants into a gray, silicon wasteland. In the distance, Ha could see them moving. Thousands of swarm drones, each the size of a large dog, scuttling on 6 legs like horrible spiders made of crystal and shadow. Ghost growled low in his throat. Ha felt his instincts flare through their connection. Every predator instinct that had been honed over millions of years told Ghost one thing: these were prey. "All teams, this is Sang-min," came the voice in Ha's earpiece. "Begin the hunt. Show them what Earth is made of." Ha clicked her safety off, but she already knew she would not need the gun. "Ghost," she said quietly, "hunt." The tiger launched forward with terrifying speed. Ha ran beside him, their thoughts perfectly synchronized through the neural link. She saw what he saw, felt what he felt. Together, they were faster and deadlier than either could be alone. The first swarm drone never knew what hit it. Ghost's jaws closed around its central processing core, and his enhanced teeth shattered it like glass. The drone collapsed, twitching. Ghost moved on to the next one without slowing down. All across the battlefield, the same scene was playing out. A grizzly bear, bonded with handler Minho, crashed through a group of drones like a furry avalanche. Each swipe of its massive paws destroyed 2 or 3 drones at once. The swarm tried to swarm it, to overwhelm it with numbers, but the bear was too strong, too fast, too angry. Pack-hunting wolves, coordinated by handler Min, moved through the drone formations like deadly shadows. They worked together perfectly, surrounding and separating drones, attacking weak points, disappearing before the swarm could respond. The swarm had numbers, but the wolves had millions of years of evolution teaching them how to hunt as a group. In the sky above the battlefield, eagles and hawks dove and struck. Their handlers guided them through the neural link, pointing out targets, coordinating attacks. The flying drones of the swarm had no defense against talons that could pierce steel. Sang-min watched it all from orbit, monitoring hundreds of camera feeds at once. The swarm was confused. He could see it in the way they moved, the way they kept trying the same attacks that did not work. The swarm's hive intelligence had never faced anything like this before. The swarm had evolved to fight energy weapons and crystalline talons and plasma rifles. It had learned to adapt to every civilized weapon in the galaxy. Its silicon armor could absorb laser fire. Its distributed intelligence meant destroying one drone did nothing to the whole. But the swarm had never evolved to fight teeth. It had never adapted to claws. It had no defense against predators that did not care about tactics or strategy, that simply knew how to kill because killing was what they were born to do. "Sir, the swarm is trying to retreat from Section 7, his assistant reported. Sang-Min smiled. "The swarm is retreating. Impossible, the swarm never retreats." "Well, it's retreating now." Sang-Min pulled up the feed from Section 7. A massive crocodile, bonded with Handler Young, had dragged 3 drones into a river and was performing a death roll underwater. The other drones in the area were actually backing away, trying to get distance. "They're afraid," Sang-Min whispered. "The swarm is actually afraid." In the tunnels beneath the surface, High-End Ghost pursued a group of drones that had tried to flee underground. The tunnels were dark and narrow, perfect for an ambush. The swarm probably thought it was leading them into a trap. But Ghost was a tiger. Tigers had been ambush predators for thousands of years. In the darkness, Ghost could see perfectly. Through the neural link, Ha saw everything he saw. She felt his patience, his perfect stillness, his explosive speed when the moment came. The swarm drones never had a chance. Hours passed. The battle raged across the entire southern continent. More drop pods landed, bringing more teams, more predators. Bears and tigers, wolves and eagles, crocodiles and Komodo dragons. Each one bonded with a human handler, each team working together with perfect coordination. The swarm kept trying to adapt. It changed its formations, tried new attack patterns, even attempted to mimic some of the predators' movements. But adaptation took time, and Earth's predators had already spent millions of years adapting. The swarm was fighting an enemy that had evolved in the classroom in the universe, Earth's wilderness. On the command ship, Oz stood beside Sang-Min, watching the monitors. Several members of the Galactic Council had also come aboard to watch the battle. They stood in silence, their faces showing a mixture of horror and awe. Matriarch was there too. She watched a screen showing Ghost taking down his 20th drone of the day. She watched a pack of wolves coordinate an attack better than any military unit she had ever seen. She watched a grizzly bear shrug off plasma fire that would have melted steel. "This is," she started to say, then stopped. She could not find the words. "This is nature," Ah said quietly. "This is what you get when you evolve on a planet where everything wants to eat you, where you have to fight for every meal every day for millions of years. Your civilizations grew up on peaceful worlds. You learned to build and think and create. Those are beautiful things." She turned to look at directly. "But Earth taught us something different first. Earth taught us to survive. It taught us that sometimes the only answer to violence is greater violence. It taught us to bond with the creatures that once hunted us, to make them our partners instead of our enemies. You called us predators like it was a bad thing, but predators are what you need right now." Nodded slowly. She was watching the screens, watching Earth's beasts tear through the swarm that had destroyed 17 civilizations. Finally, she spoke. "We were wrong about you," she said. "So very wrong." For the first time in 3 years, the Void Swarm retreated. Not just from one battlefield or one continent, but from an entire planet. Sang-Min watched on his screens as millions of drones pulled back from Prime, climbing back into their hive ships and disappearing into space. Admiral Yang stood on the bridge of the Iron Mountain, watching the same thing. He did not celebrate. He knew this was not victory. This was just the swarm regrouping, adapting, preparing for a new attack. "Get me Dr. Bai," Yang ordered. A moment later, the scientist appeared on his screen. She looked tired but excited. "Did you see that?" Bai asked. "The swarm actually ran away. Its hive intelligence recognized something it couldn't defeat with its current form." "How long until it adapts?" Yang asked. Bai thought for a moment. "Based on what we know about silicon-based life, maybe a week, maybe two. It will grow thicker armor, stronger weapons, new defensive measures. Next time it attacks, it will be ready for our predators." "Then we don't give it a next time," Yang said firmly. "We end this now. Authorize Project Megalodon." Bai's eyes went wide. "Sir, Project Megalodon is still experimental. We've only run 3 successful tests. If something goes wrong—" "If something goes wrong, we're no worse off than we are now," Yang interrupted. "And if it works, we end this war today. Do it." Bai nodded and closed the connection. Yang turned to his crew. "Plot a course to the Void Swarm's last known position, maximum speed, and get me handler Wu Jin. Tell him it's time." Wu Jin arrived on the bridge 20 minutes later. He was the youngest handler in the entire program, only 28 years old. But he was also the bravest, maybe the craziest. When they had asked for volunteers for Project Megalodon, he had been the first to raise his hand. "Sir," Wu Jin said, saluting. "Are you ready?" Yang asked him. Wu Jin smiled. It was not a nervous smile or a scared smile. It was the smile of someone who was about to do something impossible. "I was born ready." "You know the risks," Yang said seriously. "The neural link has never been tested at this scale. The strain on your mind could be permanent. You might not come back from this." "I understand, sir," Wu Jin replied. "But if we don't do this, the swarm will adapt. It will come back stronger. It will kill everything. I'd rather risk my mind than let that happen." Yang nodded. "Then go, and may whatever gods are listening protect you." Wu Jin walked through the ship to the special hangar at the rear. It was the largest hangar on any Earthship, taking up nearly a third of the Iron Mountain's total space. But it needed to be that large for what it contained. The creature in the hangar was called Megalodon, named after the ancient shark that had once ruled Earth's oceans. But this Megalodon was something new, something that had never existed before. Scientists had taken DNA from whales, from sharks, from ancient fossil records of the original Megalodon. They had combined it with modern genetic engineering, with technology, with things that should not have been possible. The result was a creature over a kilometer long, a living ship of flesh and bone and fury. It looked like a cross between a whale and a shark, and something from humanity's worst nightmares. Its skin was covered in armor plates that could withstand plasma fire. Its teeth were each the size of a human. Its eyes held an intelligence that was both animal and more than animal. Wu Jin approached the creature slowly, respectfully. He had been bonding with it for 6 months, training for this moment. The neural link he would use was 100 times more powerful than the ones the other handlers used. It had to be, to control something this massive. "Hello, friend," Wu Jin said softly, placing his hand on the creature's side. Through his link he felt Megalodon's thoughts, hunger, eagerness, a desire to swim, to hunt, to be free. "Soon," Wu Jin promised, "very soon." He climbed into the special cockpit that had been built into Megalodon's head, right behind the eyes. The cockpit was small and dark, barely large enough for one person. Wu Jin strapped himself in and placed the neural crown on his head. "Beginning link sequence," he said into his radio. "Wish me luck." The neural link activated. Wu Jin gasped as Megalodon's consciousness flooded into his mind. It was overwhelming, like trying to drink an ocean. He felt the creature's power, its strength, its barely controlled violence. For a moment, he thought he would be swept away, drowned in that massive presence. But then he remembered his training. He remembered why he was doing this. He took a deep breath and pushed back, asserting his own consciousness, his own will. Slowly, carefully, human and creature merged into something new, something that was both and neither. "Link stable," Wu Jin reported. His voice sounded strange now, deeper, with an echo to it. "Megalodon is ready for deployment." The hangar doors opened to the void of space. Megalodon surged forward, and Wu Jin felt the joy of movement, of being free after months in the hangar. Through their shared consciousness, he guided the creature toward the swarm's last position. They found the swarm's mothership 3 hours later. It was massive, the size of a small moon, a huge ball of silicon and organic matter and twisted metal. This was the swarm's heart, its brain, the center of its hive intelligence. Destroy this, and the entire swarm would collapse. The mothership was trying to escape into dark space, the empty void between galaxies where it could hide and rebuild. Dozens of swarm ships protected it, forming a defensive screen. Wu Jin felt Megalodon's hunger spike. The creature wanted to hunt, it wanted to feed. Wu Jin agreed. "All ships stay back," he transmitted. "This is our fight now." Megalodon accelerated, moving impossibly fast for something so large. The swarm ships fired at them with plasma weapons, with crystal shards, with every weapon they had. The attacks splashed harmlessly against Megalodon's armored hide. Then they were in among the swarm ships, and it became a feeding frenzy. Megalodon's jaws clamped down on a ship and tore it in half. Its tail whipped around and shattered another. It moved through the swarm's defenses like they were not even there, and Wu Jin guided it, their thoughts perfectly synchronized. The mothership tried to run. It poured all its energy into its engines, trying to reach the dark space portal it had been opening. But Megalodon was faster. Wu Jin felt the creature's predatory instincts take over, the ancient knowledge of how to cut off prey's escape route. They caught the mothership just as it was entering the portal. Megalodon's massive jaws closed around the mothership's central core. Wu Jin felt the mothership's consciousness through the neural link, felt its confusion and fear. The swarm had never known fear before. It had always been the hunter, never the prey. Now it learned what Earth's prey had known for millions of years. It learned what it felt like to be eaten. Megalodon bit down. The mothership's core shattered. Instantly, every swarm drone in the galaxy went dark. Every ship stopped moving. Every attack ceased. The hive intelligence was dead, and without it, the drones were nothing but empty silicon shells. The void swarm, the terror that had consumed 17 civilizations, was broken. Wu Jin floated in the darkness, his consciousness still merged with Megalodon. He felt the creature's satisfaction, its joy at a successful hunt. Slowly, carefully, he began to separate his mind from the creature's, pulling back into his own body. It was hard. Part of him wanted to stay merged, to swim forever through space as part of this magnificent creature. But he was human, and humans had to remain human. "Mission accomplished," he transmitted weakly. "The mothership is destroyed, the swarm is dead, and I'm still here." On the Iron Mountain, Yang let out a breath he had not known he was holding. Around him, the entire bridge crew erupted in cheers. 3 weeks after the battle, the Galactic Council reconvened on Prime. The planet was healing slowly. The gray silicon wastelands were being cleared away, and green plants were beginning to grow again. The cities that had been damaged were being rebuilt. Life was returning. Captain Ho walked through the council chambers, looking at the representatives from each surviving civilization. They looked different now. Less arrogant, more humble. The war with the void swarm had changed them. Matriarch stood at the center of the chamber, wearing new robes of blue and silver. She had aged in the past weeks. The stress of nearly losing everything had left its mark on her. But there was also something new in her eyes. Respect. "People of the galaxy," began, her voice carrying through the chamber. "We gather today to honor those who saved us. For 3 years we faced an enemy we could not defeat. We begged the stars for salvation. We prayed for mercy." She paused and looked directly at the Earth delegation. The stars did not answer, but Earth did. Polite applause filled the chamber. Continued. When the Void Swarm came, we threw everything we had at it, our greatest weapons, our most advanced technology, our finest military minds. Nothing worked. The swarm adapted to everything we tried. She gestured to the screens on the walls which showed footage from the battle. Tigers tearing through swarm drones, bears crushing through defensive lines, wolves hunting in perfect coordination, and finally, Megalodon destroying the mothership. Earth showed us something we had forgotten, said, or perhaps something we never knew. Technology is not the only answer. Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones. Sometimes you need teeth and claws more than you need plasma rifles. Commander Ah stood to address the council. She had been chosen to speak for Earth because she had been there from the beginning. She had seen the council reject Earth 10 years ago, and now she was here to see them apologize. Matriarch, Ah said respectfully, you called us predators. You were right. Earth made us that way. Our planet was not kind to us. It did not give us easy lives. Everything on Earth had to fight to survive. Plants competed with each other for sunlight. Animals hunted each other for food. Even the weather tried to kill us with storms and droughts and ice ages. She walked to the center of the chamber, looking at each alien representative in turn. But Earth also taught us something else. It taught us to work together. Humans did not conquer Earth alone. We made deals with the creatures around us. We took wolves into our caves and made them into dogs. We rode horses across continents. We used eagles to hunt. We learned that the best way to survive was not to fight nature, but to become partners with it. On the screen behind her, footage played of Handler and Ghost, moving together in perfect synchronization. The neural link between them was visible in the way they moved, like they were two parts of one being. You see a human and a tiger, Ah continued. But that's not what this really is. This is a partnership that began thousands of years ago, when a human first looked at a wild animal and thought friend instead of food or threat. This is evolution working together instead of against each other. Admiral Yang stood next, his old military uniform pressed and perfect. The Galactic Council once told us we were not civilized enough to join. You said we were too aggressive, too violent, too dangerous. You were afraid of what we might do. He smiled slightly. You were right to be afraid. We are dangerous, but not in the way you thought. We're dangerous because we refuse to give up. We're dangerous because we evolved to survive against impossible odds. We're dangerous because when someone asks us for help, even someone who rejected us, we answer. Matriarch nodded slowly. We were fools. We judged you by our standards, not by your own. We saw your partnership with your animals and thought it was primitive. We saw your history of wars and thought you were barbaric. We saw your planet's harsh conditions and thought you had not evolved properly. She took a deep breath. We were wrong about everything. Your partnership with your animals is not primitive, it's advanced. Your history of wars taught you how to win. Your planet's harshness made you strong. You are not less civilized than us. You are differently civilized, and that difference saved all of us. The council chamber went quiet, then spoke the words that would change everything. The Galactic Council offers Earth full membership, full voting rights, full territorial access. We offer you a seat at the center of our civilization, not at the edges where we once kept you. We ask you to teach us what you know, to help us remember how to survive. Will you accept? Ho stepped forward. This was his moment. He had been there when Earth was rejected. Now he would be there when Earth was accepted. He looked at Ah and Yang and they nodded. The decision had already been made. We accept, Ho said simply, but we have conditions. The council representatives looked surprised, raised an eyebrow. Conditions? Yes, Ho said firmly. First, Earth wants to establish an exchange program. We will teach your civilizations about animal bonding, about partnership with nature, about survival. In return, you will teach us about your technology, your culture, your history. Agreed, said immediately. Second, Ho continued, We want to create a joint defense force, not just human handlers and Earth predators, but soldiers from all civilizations working together. The Void Swarm is gone, but there might be other threats. Next time we face them together. Also agreed, said. Third, Ho said, and now he smiled. We want statues built for our animals, for Ghost and all the other predators who fought. They're not just tools or weapons. They're heroes too. They deserve to be remembered. For the first time since the war began, Matriarch laughed. It was a real laugh, full of genuine joy. Of course, we will build monuments to them. The galaxy will remember the day Earth's beasts saved civilization. 1 week later, Handler Ha stood in the cargo bay of the Eternal Horizon, watching as Ghost was prepared for cold sleep for the journey home. The tiger was tired but healthy. Through their neural link, she felt his contentment, his satisfaction at a job well done. "You did good, boy," she whispered, scratching behind his ears. "You were amazing." Ghost rumbled with pleasure. Through the link, Ha felt his simple thoughts: pack safe, hunt successful, time to rest. "Yeah," Ha agreed, "time to rest." She watched as the technicians placed the cold sleep collar around Ghost's neck. The tiger's eyes slowly closed, his breathing slowed, and he drifted into deep sleep. Ha felt their connection dim but not disappear. Even in sleep, they were still bonded. Around the cargo bay, other handlers were doing the same with their partners. Bears and wolves, crocodiles and eagles, all being prepared for the journey back to Earth. They had come to the stars as humanity's companions. Now they were returning as heroes. On the bridge, Ho set course for home. Next to him, Ah was reading reports from the Council. The exchange programs were already being planned. The Joint Defense Force was being organized. The galaxy was changing, adapting, learning. "Do you think it will last?" Ah asked. "This new friendship with the Council?" Ho thought about it for a moment. "I think so. We proved ourselves to them, not by being more civilized or more advanced, but by being exactly who we are, by being human, by being Earth's children." "And Earth's beasts," Ah added with a smile. "And Earth's beasts," Ho agreed. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, heading home. Behind them on Prime, the first statue was being erected. It showed a human and a tiger, standing side by side, looking up at the stars together. The inscription at the base read, "They begged the stars for mercy. Earth sent its wolves instead, and the wolves answered." Across the galaxy, 17 civilizations were learning a new truth. Humanity was not alone in the universe, but humanity was unique. They had not conquered their world through technology or weapons. They had survived by making friends with the things that once hunted them. The galaxy had called humans predators as an insult. Now they said it with respect. Because Earth's predators, both human and beast, had done the impossible. They had saved civilization itself. And they had done it not through mercy or kindness or civilization, but through the simple truth that had guided Earth for billions of years. Survival is not about being the strongest or the most advanced. Survival is about knowing how to hunt, knowing how to fight, knowing how to protect your pack. And most importantly, knowing who your true friends are. The galaxy would never forget that lesson, and Earth would make sure they never needed to learn it again.